Okay, this is Michelle Vinker, and I would like to welcome all of you out there in Facebook land to our NAMI Clackamas annual meeting and volunteer appreciation event. I'd like to say a huge thank you. Next slide. To Gary Marshke, Sherry Mascaro, and Jackie Camacho, I'm not sure I pronounced her name right, for making all this possible. The three of them have put in a ton of work in everything to do with getting this produced for you. So thank you very much. Our agenda will be as follows. We're going to have a welcome from the NAMI Clackamas Board of Directors, Board President, an introduction of all the board candidates, an introduction of the full board. We'll have the board treasurer's report. You'll get to hear a brief history of NAMI Clackamas, that we've done some pretty phenomenal stuff. A recap of what this year was like. We'll look forward to what the future holds, and then we'll have our volunteer appreciation event where we'll recognize 3 absolutely wonderful volunteers. And from here, I'd like to turn it over to Judge Sealander, the NAMI Clackamas Board President.
Thank you, Michelle. I would like to call the annual meeting to order. It's been more than 40 years since NAMI Clackamas began, and this is the first and hopefully the last time that the whole annual meeting will be done virtually. The word virtually is a relatively new word to most of us in terms of annual meetings or conducting a business meeting. And for many of us, virtually means the miscues and the difficult communications of virtual meetings. But the dictionary definition is different. Virtually means, for the most part, something like not all, but almost. NAMI is not a virtual or an almost organization. It is a hands-on, from the heart organization. That's what drew me to NAMI. This time of year, the news organizations reflect on the year gone by, and their reflections are often emphasized and punctuated by photos so we don't forget. Every year, there are photos showing people doing the type of things that NAMI does best. Think of the photos of the nurse supporting the patient, a protester advocating for social justice, the parent reaching down to hold the hand of a child, educating the child simply by a comforting touch. This is the perfect description of NAMI, advocating for those people who have need, supporting those in pain, and educating those who are in need of guidance. Our mission statement is that NAMI Clackamas is a grassroots organization dedicated to improving the quality of life for everyone impacted by mental health issues through support, education, and advocacy. But who is NAMI Clackamas? In a legal sense, it's our membership. And certainly, it's our staff. Michelle Vinker, our executive director, is exceptional. She is directing a program that has a more profound impact than most NAMI programs in the United States. She has found exceptional people, Gary Marshke and others, to work with her, all of whom are dedicated and caring professionals. It is also the board of directors who give oversight to NAMI Clackamas. And I'd like to introduce the board at this time. Judy Steele, who's Vice President for Advocacy and Outreach. Nathan Trimpler, who is Treasurer. Mary Clark, who is Secretary. Pamela Blackwell, Vice President, Support of Education. Vice President in Support and Education. Laura Caninda, Judy Jameson, Lee Eby, Monica Ford, Kathy Bankson, Eric Blumenthal, Laverne Adams, and Sherry Hall. Because this is an annual meeting, we do have some business to conduct, which includes the election of 3 officers for the board of directors. Our candidates are Pamela Blackwell for Vice President of Education and Support. Pamela is a transactional attorney. She's a NAMI Clackamas volunteer, a teacher, a facilitator, and a presenter. And I've never asked her why, but she also holds a law degree in both England and the United States. Nathan Trimpler is treasurer. He is a US bank portfolio monitoring analyst. He graduated from Portland State with a degree in accounting. And Mary Clark for secretary. She is retired from the Oregon Department of Human Services. She worked in direct services, administration, and community development for 40 years. Each currently is in the position that they are running for, and each deserves re-election. Now, if you remember, we've sent you an email with a link to vote. All you have to do is click that link and vote. If you have any questions about how to vote, you can contact Michelle. But back to my question. Who is NAMI Clackamas? NAMI Clackamas is not an organization of professionals. Its heart and its soul is in its volunteers, in its major and minor donors. And in that, I would specifically like to recognize Debbie Grochel, who has become our first monthly donor. Also, our sponsors. These people, the volunteers, the donors, and the sponsors, are you, and you get very little attention, but you are the ones sacrificing your time, your money, your efforts, your love to make NAMI Clackamas possible. I thank you all for your efforts and contributions, and for making it an honor for me to serve as president of the NAMI board. I, like Michelle, would like to welcome you to the 2020 NAMI Clackamas annual meeting.
Okay. Now, Judge Sealander has introduced you very briefly with our board of directors, but I am going to do something a little bit different. Gary, if you could get out of screen share. And I am going to ask all of our board of directors who are here with us tonight to stop their video. I'm going to ask some questions, and when that person is you, I want you to turn on your video for just a couple of minutes and then turn it back off as we go to the next question. And this way people will get to know a little bit more about you as a person. So if all my board will turn off their screen, turn off their video, you'll find that in the bottom left corner. Judy, bottom left corner of your screen, you should be able to stop video. And I'm going to ask Sherry and Bonnie if you'll also stop yours so that we can just look at. Did you find it, Judy? There. Yay. Okay. So for my first question, I want to know who is a morning person. If you're a morning person, turn on your video. Awesome. We've got 5 of us. So I'm not a morning person. I'm impressed. Okay, turn them off again. Now I want to know who does not like coffee. Neither do I. Okay, off again. Who has a pet? Pamela, you're the only, oh, and Judy, you both have pets. Awesome. Next question. If you turn them off. Who is retired? Okay, we've got a few retired people. Next question is who wishes they were retired? And I'll very much so. I think everybody who isn't retired is wishing they were. Who is currently working home during the pandemic? And now, okay, got that one. Okay, all off. I want to know who on our board has participated in any way with our NAMI walk, including donating, getting others to donate, or walking. And as you can see, I think we're one of the few boards out there that has had 100% participation, which I'm really, really thrilled about. Okay, off again. Who has taught a class or given a presentation for NAMI? Another one of our shows our very, very active board. Off again. Who has children that live out of state? Okay, next question. Who has children, minors or adults, who are living at home? Okay, next. Who has grandchildren? The love of my heart. I love my grandchildren. Who currently works or has worked in the mental health field? Who exercises regularly? Good for you. I need to get back in the habit. Who thinks chocolate should be a food group? I've got to go with that one. And who prefers salty snacks? Who is married to their best friend? And I've got to go on that one too. Who likes to travel? And who is afraid of traveling on an airplane? And my final question is, who thinks NAMI Clackamas rocks? And I better see you all come up for that. Okay, Gary, you can go back to our screen share. Gary? Okay. I'd like to turn the time now over to Nathan Trimpler, our board treasurer, to tell you a little bit about our fiscal information over our financial information over the past year. Nathan?
Thank you, Michelle. As I'm sure you've all seen and we will discuss later, 2020 and the year preceding it have been unlike any of us have expected or really thought we would have. And in spite of that, our fiscal year end 2020, which does end in June 30th, has been rather strong. And in part, that is due to both the payroll protection program, as well as which is a federal government program designed to help nonprofits and small businesses in providing them funding for payroll as well as rent expenses. And that came through for us, as well as efforts made by Michelle for the, in acquiring grants that not only did we expect to receive, but also additional grants well above and beyond those that we're expecting. And so in spite of the challenges that many have faced on a personal and unfortunately mental health level, from a financial position, the NAMI Clackamas has been in a rather strong position overall. And I think in large part that's due to our strong cash position based around ensuring that we're well protected in the event that events like 2020, the donations had dried up or grant opportunities had just not been available. Because of that, we are well positioned to continue to provide the same level of services that we have for several years. But that's not something that we've had any need to tap into because of the fact of the efforts by our executive director to be successful in not only obtaining additional grants, but also making sure that we are front and center and well positioned to be able to help serve the community as opportunities are available that align with NAMI's goals. And those will be something that we'll highlight throughout the course of this presentation. But as can be seen from this presentation, from this chart, the majority of our income is coming from grant income, although donations do make up a large portion of that, as well as fundraising activities, both NAMI walks, as well as Party with a Purpose, which, while unfortunately we may not have that for 2020, the 2019 event, which was a great success, is included in this fiscal year end figure. And so if we could transition to the next slide, please. As can be seen, and as would be expected for a majority of nonprofits such as ours, and as they should be, our expenses are primarily reflected around the programs that we serve and those services that we're providing to the community, and being able to support those in a meaningful way. And if you go back to the previous slide, you'll see that our membership income is actually at 15% of our total income, whereas the expense side of it is 3%, representing an 11.5% margin, indicated that anything above those expenses is, for lack of a better term, profit for our purposes. And so that just reflects the fact that we're able to not only generate income through fundraising, but we're able to retain more of that income to be able to use to help provide additional programs and services. And so with our balance sheet as it stands right now, I think that we're well positioned going into fiscal year 2020 and beyond, considering that we are well protected, as well as have a very conscientious executive director and looking out to ensure that we're well positioned for opportunities, both grants and also just overall exposure. And are there any additional items you'd like me to speak to?
I think that'll do it.
Thank you.
I'm now going to go over just a brief history for those of you who don't know it about NAMI Clackamas. So although we're not 100% sure when our first support group happened, researchers showed that it was probably in 1978. And it was a group of parents who were brought together by Clackamas County who had adults with mental health issues. And they were brought together because there was no place else they could go to support each other. That you can kind of get an idea of how mental health has changed since then, since that group was initially called, the acronym was MIND, which stood for, and hang on to your seats because we've changed since then, but the mentally ill need direction. That is, and again, reflect the fact that this first support group had family members who had major mental health issues. Most of them were in the Oregon State Hospital, and most of them were not expected to ever leave the hospital. Since then, a lot of research and a lot of things have happened, and some of them are indeed into their own housing and doing other things. So we're glad to see that. In 1985, we found out about the fledgling NAMI movement. At that time, it was the National Association for Mental Illness, and we joined with them in this movement that will show you even more of what they're doing. Since then, they've changed their name from the National Alliance for Mental Illness to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and then finally to NAMI. In 1999, we received a national award for excellence in education. At that point, we were doing some of the most educational programs of any NAMI anywhere. And in 2000, we did our first gala. It was called Hearts for Housing. And at that time, what we were hoping was that we could earn enough money to actually build some NAMI housing. What we found out over time was that with our base, which was still small and still based with people who had loved ones with mental health issues, and those peers who became part of NAMI, those people who live with mental health issues, we didn't, although we earned more than we expected, a good $30,000 plus netted on that first gala, we realized that it cost millions to produce some houses, to build them, manage them. So and this was all volunteer at this time. So those volunteers banded together, led by the board president, and were able to band with Clackamas County, with the Oregon Health Association, with HUD, and with others, Central City Concern, so that we all banded together to create, build, and manage that housing. Now, right now, NAMI Clackamas does not have any housing of our own, but we can proudly say that most of the housing in Clackamas County is directly traceable back to those efforts from the early NAMI Clackamas. The other thing that happened about that time was Damish had been, was being taken off. It was going to be destroyed. They were letting people out into the community. And some of our volunteers said, we can't do that. These people need housing. There's not enough. So they went to their legislature, and with the help of a couple of wonderful legislators, okay, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my own tongue. They were able to create and pass a bill that provided seed money for housing all over the state of Oregon, and 10 acres on that Damish hospital property specifically for people with mental health issues. And so we're really proud about our involvement with that. In 2003, we participated in not only the first NAMI walks in Oregon, but the first set of NAMI walks across the nation. And we have done it ever since then. And again, I want to say we are so lucky that our whole board has been active in our NAMI walks the last couple of years. And I want to bring attention to the bottom right hand, because that is our board member at large and former board treasurer, Eric Blumenthal, who has spearheaded our board team for a long time, and we really, really appreciate him. In 2009, we held our first peer connection support group. So that was a support group for people with mental health issues that is facilitated and led by other people who are in recovery and also live with mental health issues. So they were peer. In 2010, we got a grant from Clackamas County. That's when we hired our first staff person. And later on in that year, that's when we hired our first peer to provide resource connections for people with mental health issues and or their family members. And also in 2010, we've got to thank Providence Health and Services. They donated our current office space, which has been phenomenal. Before that time, we had a desk that was located in one of the county office buildings with some storage underneath the stairs. So when we, in 2010, when we hired our first executive director and our first staff, and we became a little bit noisier and had more volunteers coming in, they asked us to leave, and Providence stepped up and donated that space for us. In 2015, we did our first Ending the Silence presentation. And I've got to give a call out here to Judy Winter. She was on our previous board because she pushed. She went to a NAMI meeting and saw about that. And she came back and said, we need to do this. And so she pushed, and we became the first affiliate in Oregon to offer Ending the Silence, and have since then helped other affiliates get up and running and train some of their volunteers. We were also in that year the first NAMI to offer signature programs in Spanish, and I'm really excited about that. It's something that I wanted to do, and as far as I know, we're still the only NAMI in Oregon that offers programs in Spanish. They're limited. We hope to grow them, but we're starting. And in 2018, we received our first SAMHSA grant that allowed us to extend our Ending the Silence and our basics programs. I want to give a shout out to Pamela, who's done most of our basics training for us. She's on our board, and we're really happy to be able to offer that class for parents and primary caregivers of children and adolescents with mental health issues. Then came 2020. Next slide. 2020 was a year like no other, as we all know. But I'm really proud of our staff and our volunteers. We were very quickly, quicker than many other NAMI affiliates, to pivot all of our support groups, except for our art group, into virtual groups. We started having all our classes virtually and doing Ending the Silence presentations and other presentations virtually. What was nice about this is that people who attended our classes came from presentations came from as far away as Panama. And we had people from all over Oregon able to attend classes and other programs for us. And not only all over Oregon, but I've had other NAMIs back east who weren't able to do some of the things that we did, to ask if they could join in with us, and they have. And so that's been really exciting to see this expansion out of just our own little Clackamas County, and the ability of our folks to be able to attend and see other things that other NAMIs were doing too. We did have some hurdles though. Because we went totally virtual, there are people out there who formally attended some of our things in purpose that were no longer able to. They didn't have access to technology, whether that meant that they didn't have computers, they didn't have access to the internet. My parents, for instance, live in an area of Sandy that internet just isn't available. And they weren't able to walk into our office to access our peer resource coordination or some of the other things we offered, because my staff has all gone virtual. And then there were volunteers and people who normally attended some of our support groups who really prefer an in-person connection. They just didn't feel comfortable being online. So we're missing them. And so those were some of the huge hurdles that we're still dealing with. But we had some really good things that happened too. Our NAMI Walks 2020, we had 22 teams with 145 registered walkers. Now those walkers walked their own way. They did it virtually, they did it on their own, but we still had them. Our top team with the number of walkers was Awkward Moms Unanimous with team captain Adriana Bennett. Our Providence Clackamas Pacers with team captain Annette Roop, who's been doing that for years. And I think Annette's even retired now. And then Holy Outcasts with team walker Shareya Dickerson. And I'm sorry, Shareya, if I pronounced your name wrong. Then our top 3 teams for fundraising was Tessa's Butterflies. That was me. Holy Outcasts. So there we are then again, Shareya Dickinson. And they were from the Clackamas United Church of Christ. And look at that, number 3 in fundraising was our NAMI Clackamas Boardwalk with team captain Eric Blumenthal. Thank you. And again, I want to say thank you for my board for 100% participation. And then I want to go into something a little bit more fun. And Gary, if you can play this video, well, before you play it, I want to say Gary teamed up with Michelle Madison for this walk to make it the best virtual walk we are able to do with absolutely no experience. So I wanted to play this to show you one of the things that he did as people joined the walk virtually from their Facebook. Go ahead, Gary. Okay, we can't hear you. Are you on mute? Gary, you're on mute.
Well, either I start singing or there's no audio on that.
There was audio when I played it earlier. So for those of you, of course, the IT, the technology, those always get us as we're learning more of that. But Gary, you want to give them a brief, because I'm not going to try singing it. Everybody would leave the meeting immediately, but you give them a brief, just 2-second, what you were singing.
What I was singing My Way, only it was Walk Your Way. So, and now the walk is near, and as we face the final curtain, that kind of thing. So anyway, I'm not going to go into the whole thing because I don't do very well a cappella, but as you can tell, I got into it. And it was really a lot of fun. It got played elsewhere, but really the highlight of it was the fact that we did another song with myself and Jeff Lancaster, Michelle Madison's friend, and it was Walk Around the Block to the tune of Rock Around the Clock. And that actually, I don't know about this one, but that one got played at a couple of other NAMI events during the course of the year. So that's that. Trust me, you've been spared.
I disagree. I think Gary has a nice voice, and I wish we would have heard the rock around the block, walk around the block. But you can find these, I believe, on the NAMI Oregon Facebook page. All in all, despite going virtual, NAMI Clackamas, after sharing what we do with NAMI Oregon and NAMI, well, I was going to say NAMI National, but this year, because of the virtual, NAMI National forego their percentage and gave it all back to the state and national, which was wonderful. But we ended up raising $21,268. I want to just thank everybody who was involved in that, because this is major money for us and allows us to continue the programs that we currently offer. Now I'd like to go to some of our successes. One thing that's been an ongoing problem with NAMI is that we'd have volunteers who were ready to train for our signature programs, and they could not because NAMI Oregon, unfortunately, only has the capacity to train 1 or 2 trainings per program per year. Because we've gone virtual, we had volunteers now that were able to training back east, in California, just other places. And so we were really excited about that. Again, although we had some people who couldn't attend some of our virtual programs, we had increased access for others who had geographical transportation problems, other countries, other counties, other parts of the states, and other people here in NAMI Clackamas who previously had not been able to attend. We were able to have more volunteers from further away. Again, some of our volunteers come from other parts of our state, and we even have one from the Midwest who's helping us with Comparando Esperanza. So we're able to use volunteers from other places that we never were before. CARES Act funding allowed us for several different things. It helped us because of the missed and decreased donations. People either have been unemployed, or maybe they were donating to some of the more immediate needs, such as food and rent and places that did that. But we were down in some of our donations. And by the way, we're still accepting them if you have them. But the CARES Act made up for some of that. And it also allowed us to partner with the Oregon Health Authority in ways that we had never done before, including, as you saw at the beginning, doing some COVID outreach and information. It also allowed us to purchase and deliver 200 care packages. So these are packages that were stress related packages that were based around COVID-19, keeping safe and healthy in that. Packages to help people who had kids, like from our basics classes, who needed a little extra to do, and some gas cards for people who could really use that little extra. And we were able to personally deliver through our peer resource coordinator 200 care packages. And I'd like to give out this, again, a shout out to both Sherry Nascoro and Angie Gallagher, who really helped make that happen. And then we were also able to offer QPR for the first time. We got our first AmeriCorps volunteer, and she trained and is offering QPR for us, which is Question, Persuade, Refer, and it is a evidence-based suicide prevention program that we can offer for free for anyone who's interested. Just contact us at the office. We also provided during this time 4 8-week family classes for family, friends, and caregivers, and had 45 graduates. 3 8-week peer-to-peer classes with 10 graduates. That tends to be a class that's a little harder to get people to. Those are for people who live with mental health issues, and it helps them establish and maintain wellness. And 5 6-week basics classes for family and primary caregivers of children and adolescents with behavioral health issues, and with 48 graduates. I have a note here from Gary, and thank you, Gary, for reminding me. Going back to those care packages we delivered, we also had a volunteer who wrote the grant and helped bring those care packages together and put a lot of work into them. And that her name is Kathleen, and I'm not going to try her last name, but Kathleen, thank you so much. Okay, next one. NAMI Clackamas also supports people with mental health issues and those who love and care for them. We have facilitated through all of this 2 weekly support groups and 1 monthly support groups for people with mental health issues. Those are called Connection Recovery Support Groups. We held 3 monthly peer and family support groups. It used to be that we called those the Malala group, the Sandy group, and the Oregon City group. No longer are we calling them those, because people can attend no matter where they are. When they're in need, they can find a group. And we hold monthly Ask the Expert seminars, and all of those groups transitioned to virtual in March. So I was so proud of our volunteers and our staff making that happen. We also reached out, and this again, a call out to Sherry. She helped reach out to 240 people through our compassion calls. Those were calls to our members and people who had attended our support groups to just check in on them early during the COVID and see how they were doing. And then 326 people were called or reached out to in order to find out whether they wanted some of our care packages. We also, even though we ended up having to go virtual, and some of these were before that, so some of them, but we did 36 Ending the Silence presentation to high school seniors and juniors and their parents, reaching 909 people. This is one of my favorite programs. It's a presentation. We usually give it during health classes that consists of a piece that's all the facts and the resources and who to go and what to do if you or someone you know is experiencing mental health issues. But we also bring in a young adult who shares their story. And I tell you, when we get our evaluations, that is what really, the kids especially, they really, really appreciate that. There's somebody who had their symptoms, their mental health symptoms when they were in high school or junior high, and they talk about not only that, but they give a face and a voice of hope and recovery. They're people who have made it through to the other side and are doing well. We've done 5 Compartiendo Esperanza presentations to 170 people. We've done 3 in our own voice presentations. We're reaching 100 community members. That is 2 people who are in recovery from mental health issues who go into the community wherever, again, we can get a chance and tell their story. They tell about what happened when they first had symptoms. They talk about what's working and what their hope and dreams are for the future. And we had our first Facebook Live event. Again, thank you to Gary and Chris Bona from NAMI, Oregon. It was watched by 300 people. I was really excited. It seemed to me like hardly anybody was on it. But when I went back and looked at the numbers watched, it's been actually watched. Last time I looked yesterday, I think 406 people have clicked on it and watched at least part of it. Something we don't often talk about is how we fit into a bigger picture. At NAMI, we are an affiliate amongst other affiliates. We work together. We do a lot of things on a national level together that I am so proud about. 27,000 times NAMI was quoted as a trusted source of information in media articles. We are one of the most trusted sources. 16,000 plus people pledged to vote for mental health during the election season. We, along with all our friends and family across the NAMI affiliates, sent 60,000 emails to Congress, not only helped to enact the COVID bills that increased funding for mental health, but for so many other things, the 988 numbers, which I'm so excited about. For those of you who don't know, they passed the legislation so that in the hopefully not too distant future, instead of having to call your local crisis line, you'll be able to dial 988, and just like you do 911, to get connected to someone when there's a crisis. They've had 20 meetings with members of Congress on the pandemic impact on mental health. And that's just since the pandemic. I know that our folks back in DC have done much, much more. I know me, Judy, Steele, and others in our local NAMI have also gone and had meetings with our legislators, both when they come to Oregon and when we're in Washington, DC. And over 25,000 emails were sent by advocates, again, for that 988 suicide and mental health crisis. And there it is, it's beginning in 2022. And we've had 120,000 plus active NAMI advocates in 2020. That's 2 times the number in 2019. So what we're doing is amazing. And we're not only doing it here in Clackamas County, but we are bonding with people across the United States who have also faced mental health challenges or have loved ones that have, to make things happen. And I'm so excited and so pleased to be part of this national effort, and to know that even though they're not changing as fast as we'd like to see them, that things definitely are changing. Just a few of the things that we're looking at coming into 2020 or 2021. We want to put an increased emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's across all people. We haven't done as good of a job as I'd like, both locally and nationally, but I'm seeing changes, and I'm excited personally to be chosen to be part of the Oregon Health Association's Delta cohort, which is a very intensive training on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I hope to bring some of that back to our affiliates so that we can expand our diversity, equity, inclusion, and be a welcoming place for everyone who's impacted by mental health issues, as our mission says. We've also been able, we look to being going to online, and I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my own tongue, online and in-person support groups, classes and other programming. We have seen some people that have been able to attend, like I mentioned before, because it's online, but we've also seen many people drop off. So our thoughts are we're going to have to offer both in the future. What does that mean to my volunteers and those others of you out here listening in? That means we're going to need more volunteers. We're going to need more people to provide support groups in person or online. We're going to need more people with the classes and all our other programming so we can provide it in the way and time that people need it. And we're also really excited to be partnering with Clackamas County Jail. We've been awarded, sounds funny to me, but we've been awarded an AmeriCorps volunteer. We have, it was actually a grant process, and our grant, her name is Casey, and she is partnering with Clackamas County Jail to write and start, as soon as she can, COVID slowed things down, a program that will be introduced into the jail, into people who are incarcerated there, to help them with their mental health issues, and just some of those stress and mental health things that even if you're not living with one can be helpful. Mindfulness training, all kinds of things along that. And so we're excited to be partnering in a larger way with Clackamas County Jail. That being said, we also have Captain Eby, who is the commander at the jail, on our board. So we're excited that, again, that we're going to be able to increase that partnership. These are some quotes from people who have either donated or been to one of our classes or participate in our resource line or seen one of our presentations. And I'm going to just give a pause here for just a couple of minutes so that you can read them. I don't have to read them to you. Okay, Gary, you want to move on? This is a quote, and this one I will read from Bob, who is a volunteer and also attends some of our programs. Bob's been wonderful to have as part of our NAMI family. And he said, "My wish for you is that you join the movement, the NAMI movement. It's made me a better person." And with that, I want to end our annual membership meeting. Don't forget, if you are a member, that you can go online to vote. We will be taking votes clear until January 7th, I think. And also remember that we're still accepting your year-end donations. You can donate up to $300, and whether you itemize or not, deduct it in your taxes. And again, thank you for coming. And I'm going to turn this over to Sherry, who's going to start the volunteer appreciation portion of our meeting. Sherry?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay, well, good evening. I'm going to be talking about our wonderful team of volunteers, the challenges, the accomplishments, and what they've been doing this year. And I'm also going to be recognizing a few of our outstanding volunteers for 2019-2020. I'm also going to be doing my own slideshow, so bear with me. So this is a quote from one of our volunteers, an Ending the Silence facilitator. And, you know, people volunteer, and our volunteers come to us for, you know, all different reasons. Many of our volunteers are those who have taken our classes or participated in our support groups, attended a presentation, and they want to give back or pay it forward. Others come to us because they're not working. They may be a stay-at-home parent, they may be retired, or during this time unemployed, and they want to keep busy. Others want to gain experience in an area that maybe they're studying, you know, going to school for. And others want to do something rewarding, help others, share their experiences and skills, etc. So, you know, we have volunteers coming to us from all different places and for all different reasons. Volunteers are the lifeblood of NAMI Clackamas, and I know that Michelle spoke to this as well. We have a small staff, but I like, when I describe NAMI and talk about NAMI Clackamas, I like to say that we're small, but we're mighty. And being mighty is really due to our large team of volunteers that are so committed to NAMI and our mission. And we couldn't provide the programs and the services and support the number of people that we do without our volunteers. In 2020, this is an amazing number. In 2020, 180 volunteers have given a total of 3,420 hours this year. So to all of the volunteers, congratulations, you're awesome. So the pandemic has required us to change the way we provide our services, and therefore it's changed the way, you know, that our volunteers can work with us and volunteer with us. Some opportunities we've had to put on hold due to the office closing, due to no more in-person classes or support groups, no tabling events, no in-person fundraising, you know, no presentations at the schools. But even though we've put some on hold, we've been transitioning some of our opportunities, many of our opportunities, like Michelle mentioned, we've transitioned transitioned them to online and being virtual, such as our classes and our support groups and our presentations. And it's also allowed volunteers to do some of the administrative or other project work to be done remotely from home, which has been great. It's also allowed us to create new opportunities, which I think we would have created anyways. But this year we did create new volunteer opportunities that we've never had before. And I'll mention those in a minute. And then again, we've lost some volunteers who either decided to retire during this time or who have just been kind of put themselves on hold because of the changes, because of lack of access to technology, or maybe not being comfortable doing things online. And we hope that we get a lot of those volunteers back that have taken a break, and I think we will, especially as Michelle mentioned, that we'll be doing a hybrid of, going back to in-person classes or support groups or presentations, and also doing ones online. So we are going to need more volunteers, and the hope is that we get our volunteers back, we keep our existing and our new volunteers, and we continue to recruit new volunteers. So this is just some of the things, some of the activities, some of the accomplishments that we've done this year that our volunteers have done. I don't want to say we. First of all, our board of directors, thank you. It is a volunteer board. Our teachers, our facilitators, our support group facilitators, our presenters, and then I'll let you just look at all of those. Just to mention some of the newer opportunities that have come up as a result of the pandemic are the Compassion Committee, which is the committee that was formed to make all of those calls very early on to all of our membership and people that we support, to just check in on them and to see how they're doing. And then the care package callers as well, to call and see if they needed the care packages that we have been delivering. I do want to make a special shout out to one of our connection facilitators, Cara Ralston, and she really went above and beyond to offer support groups. She came to me and said, I have this idea, I would like to offer support groups on Thanksgiving Day and on Christmas Day. And so we put it out there, and she did hold support groups, and there was a fairly good turnout on both of those days. So thank you, Cara. We are, I can't say enough, we're so fortunate to have such a generous and a dedicated and a passionate team of volunteers supporting us and helping us achieve our mission. And I feel so privileged to be able to work with this amazing team of people every day for my job. It's just so awesome. Every year we recognize and we award, having the same problem as you, Michelle, and we award a few exceptional volunteers that throughout the year have gone above and beyond what was expected. And I'm going to be doing that right now. This year, we're covering kind of a hybrid 2019-2020 because we were unable to hold our 2019 recognition due to COVID, which is usually held very early in the year. So I've kind of combined it. Our first award is the Rising Star Award, and this award is for a volunteer that hasn't been with us a long time, but in the time that they have been working with us has made a significant impact on NAMI Clackamas. And this year that person is Joe Bell, and Joe is on. Thank you so much for joining, Joe. If you can, I can't see everybody because I'm looking at my screen, but if you can kind of wave to everybody, acknowledge yourself. little bit about Joe. Joe has been our IT volunteer coordinator since May of 2019, and he came to us from Volunteer Match after retirement. And Joe, again, I can't see you, but I believe it's several retirements. You finally decided that you were going to keep busy by volunteering rather than going back to work again. And we are very fortunate that you made that decision and reached out to us. Joe has given 90 volunteer hours since starting with us in the middle of 2019. Joe's accomplishments: he updated all of our computers to Windows 10. He helped add and configure additional computers to our server. He has and continues to keep our network and our printer up and running and communicating with each other. This has been huge. We would not be where we are today in continuing to provide our services the way we are, and our staff being able to continue doing our jobs without much of a hiccup, without Joe, who helped us to transition to everyone having to work remotely by configuring our server to allow the staff and the volunteers to log in remotely to our desktop computers in the office. So it's as if we were sitting in the office at our computers. That has been a godsend. And then he trained everybody on the new technology and on how to set up the remote access and work the remote access. And, you know, the last couple of things I'll say about Joe: Joe's always there when we need him. He has this, I don't know, maybe he has a sixth sense of when he's needed, because whenever he is called or is sent an email or having a problem or a frustration or a glitch in the system, he is right there. His response is very quick and he gets it done. He gets it taken care of, and we can continue on. So Joe, you've become invaluable to us, and we are forever grateful to you. Congratulations. Our next award is the Volunteer of the Year Award, and this is a volunteer that's given us the most amount of time, of their time in volunteering and helping us in 2020. Alex Smirthwaite is our volunteer. Unfortunately, Alex is working tonight, and he works until 9 o'clock. Tried to get off a short break to be on and could not. So Alex is not on tonight, but we'll still talk about him because he's awesome. Alex is our newsletter editor volunteer, and he has been since April 2019. Alex has given 392 volunteer hours since April until current, which is absolutely phenomenal. And those hours have gone into what Alex has accomplished so far and is still working on. He completely redesigned our quarterly newsletter. And for those of you who have been receiving the newsletter for, a long time, will have noticed the difference in the layout, in the design, in the content. It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. He did a phenomenal job. He researches, solicits, edits, placed all newsletter content in the newsletter since he started. He ensures that it's submitted on time for publication. And he is helping work on a couple of other big projects. He's currently developing a new HTML-based electronic newsletter and monthly calendar, bringing us into the 21st century on how we do that, moving from publisher to HTML, which is going to be great. And he's also working with our outreach coordinator to integrate our blog with the newsletter. And, I do want to say, Alex, during his time, he ended up getting a full-time job, and yet has not wavered in the time and what he gives us and what he does for us. We do now have a an assistant newsletter editor that he is working with and coaching and training and will help support him. Alex's strong commitment to improvement and his keen eye has been invaluable, and we're so lucky to have him. So sorry he couldn't be here, but thank you, Alex. And our last award is our Lifetime Achievement Award. And this award goes to someone that's been a longtime volunteer with NAMI Clackamas, and during that time has contributed in so many ways and held a variety of volunteer positions. And Bonnie Rader is just the embodiment of what that volunteer is. And Bonnie, you're here and you're frozen. Oh no, you're not frozen. There you go. I saw you move. I'm glad you could join us, Bonnie. Bonnie, raise your hand, say hi.
Hi.
That's Bonnie. We'll talk about and embarrass Bonnie for a little bit.
Okay.
Bonnie has been a volunteer since August of 2013, and she has given us 665 volunteer hours so far. And that's an amazing number also, considering that, you know, for much of 2020, she has not volunteered the way she used to. She's working now, and also just when we went virtual, she kind of took some time off, and we are thrilled because Bonnie is coming back to teach for us next spring. So we're really excited to have her back in the springtime. Bonnie came to us, to NAMI, through a flyer that she was given by a friend. And it was a flyer for our family to family class. And she had a family member that was dealing with some mental health issues. And so she decided to attend the class, and she attended the family to family class. And then she attended it again, and I'm not sure how much later. I think it was the follow 2 years later.
No.
She attended it again, and I think she was ready for it much more then and was able to take in and get a lot more out of it. And at that point, after she took it the second time, she wanted to pay it forward. And she wanted to pay it forward as a family to family teacher. And she has taught that class every year for the past 5 years. She also became a family support group facilitator and has done that for 7 years. She has also taught family and friends seminars. She is one of our top NAMI Walks team captains, and she's already signed up for a team for 2021. We're very excited about that. Bonnie is just, you know, she's the definition of an advocate, in that she promotes and talks NAMI everywhere she can. Anyone who will listen to her, I think a lot more when there was the ability to go in front of different groups and organizations and you know, just being more in front of people. We hope that that will start up again soon for all of us, but she's NAMI, and Bonnie has been a valued member of the NAMI Clackamas family for the last 7 years, and we just can't thank you enough, Bonnie. You're wonderful.
Thank you.
So their names will all go on
Did I
a
say
plaque,
something?
which I forgot to, I was going to hold it up, but
Sherry.
yes.
I just wanted to say that, yes, since the pandemic started, I went back to work because I was called in to fill in because I'm an on-call now. And right now I'm sitting in the Edward Jones office. And if you noticed in the sponsors that Edward Jones is one of the sponsors, well, I'm sitting in the office of that sponsor right now.
Yay.
I'm working this week in that office. And so, yeah, it takes, you know, it takes a village. It takes a huge amount of people to make it happen. And
Yes.
I'm very, very happy to be a part of it, to do what I can.
And yes, everywhere I go, I do talk NAMI, and including at my Edward Jones employment, including my Lake Oswego Lions Club, who have been staunch supporters of the NAMI walk for quite a few years. And my weight loss support group
Everyone.
for many, many years have also, been there to support me. And so, it's just, it involves everybody.
It does. It takes, like you said, it takes a village, and our village is made up of the most amazing people and the most amazing volunteers. And, I just want to thank you, Joe, thank you, Bonnie, and thank you all of our volunteers. From the bottom of my heart, I feel so privileged and lucky to be working with all of you on a daily basis. Like I said, this is my job, and it's the best job in the world. And I couldn't do it with all of you who have just stuck with us, stepped up, been there, always answering my call for volunteers. I've never had crickets, when I've reached out. There are always volunteers coming back saying, I can do it, I'll be there, etc. So thank you. I really hope to be able to meet all of the volunteers soon, because I started at the very beginning of this pandemic, and so unfortunately have not had the opportunity. I've met many of you recently, but just have not had the opportunity to work with you in person like I'd like to. So I look forward to that. I am now going to turn it back over to Judge Sealander to close the meeting.
Thank you, Sherry. And what a wonderful reminder of how much can be accomplished when we do it together.
Yeah.
And with that, I would like to thank everybody for attending, and we'll be adjourned.